Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Positive with Rachelle. Folks, this is going to be a special one as I am highlighting some exciting lessons learned, trials, tribulations, fun times, interesting times from my 25-year journey in fitness, gym fitness. And it's actually my anniversary's on May 17th, so you'll see this a week early. But folks, before I delve into some of those exciting highlights, I wanted to actually recap quickly. I know last episode was a very juicy episode, a very meaty episode, certainly historic episode, as I talked about the concept of market cannibalization. And I wanted to share a couple of examples with you here in this episode to reinforce that point and give you just some examples that just certainly provide more clarity around that whole issue. And the first of which is last weekend, actually latter part of last week, Wednesday through Friday, actually was in Chicago for alumni meetings on campus at Northwestern University. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on in this episode. But folks, I considered actually going to a couple of the Planet Fitness locations there in Chicago, but I actually have a privilege pass to Northwestern to utilize the on-campus facilities, and it's just much easier to take that route. And certainly I did so, but I did consider a couple of the locations, as I've had a couple of great experiences, as I highlighted last year on Fitness Friday episodes, of Planet Fitness, a couple of locations in Chicago. So we considered that, decided not to, but one thing I did notice was that one of their main locations, actually the Belmont Avenue location, actually closed last year, some point last year. It must have been in the fall or towards the end of the year, but anyway, location closed, and that was a larger club. And certainly when I saw that, I literally was thinking to myself, I certainly understand Chicago's just a very expensive city, and I know just the operating expenses for those clubs is incredibly high. But anyway, that's just an example. There are obviously other clubs in the city, other larger clubs in the area, but certainly within the inner city, what I want to say is Chicago proper versus the suburbs. This is where this location was. And so in those examples, yes, the suburbs are certainly expensive, but the city is certainly, the city clubs, or just living in the city, is certainly very high operating costs. And so I was not surprised to see that, as there are other locations for individuals, Planet Fitness members, to go to, and certainly you can do so with the Black Card membership, or just transfer with the traditional membership to one of those clubs. But that was an example. You've got other locations that were in fairly close proximity, and that one actually closed, and I certainly understand why that happened. Just very expensive proposition to have clubs within the city certainly close together. So that was an example. And the second example I want to share with you quickly here is a Detroit News article that Candace Williams actually wrote, and it was on May 3rd. And let me give you the title, and I promise you, it is not a typo. It's not a play on words. Kroger to close Dearborn store across street from Kroger. Yes, you heard that correctly, folks. In the interest of time, I'm going to quickly read here just a couple paragraphs. Kroger officials said Friday that the company will close its store at 23000 Michigan Avenue due to financial reasons, but the Kroger across the street at 23303 Michigan Avenue will remain open. And then it goes on to say the news of the closure comes as the Novi-based company, and that's Kroger of Michigan, based in Novi, is planning a $97 million investment in stores in Michigan, including new ones in Warren and Sterling Heights. So in the article, actually, and there's been a few articles in a few different publications here that have talked about they're actually going to be remodeling 11 stores, and they're adding a couple of fuel centers at existing locations. So see, that is an example of talking about market cannibalization, literally right across the street from one another. Now, one of them used to be a Farmer Jack years ago. Actually, when I lived in Dearborn, lived right down the street from that what used to be Farmer Jack, and then Kroger bought it out. But literally, folks, as you can see, across the street is another Kroger. This was just a powerful example of market cannibalization if I've ever seen one. You got two of the same chain right across the street from each other, and you can see this one closed for financial reasons. Why? Because you're just not going to be successful in that type of close proximity, because one is going to be cannibalizing the other. So that was an example of that. Just had to share that with you folks. But I wanted to delve on in here to some of the highlights of my fitness journey. Certainly so exciting. And I actually saw this in Dollar Tree a few weeks ago, and I saved this, and actually I'm always buying little trinkets out of there, and they just have some inspirational stuff. But if there's anything that defines my life, this is certainly it. And I bought this, and it certainly made me smile, and it is so true. And I don't know if Some of you may remember the old song from the 90s, life is a highway. Life is a highway. I want to ride it all night long. So yeah, and I just think about, Rachelle's fitness adventures I'm going to be highlighting here in this episode. But certainly, folks, think about your lives as an adventure. Don't let it be stale. Don't let it be boring. Have some excitement in it, some highs, some lows. Allow the plot to thicken. Don't be so predictable. Life is certainly meant to be enjoyed. But to kick off these highlights, I have to start it off. And first, let me tell you, I certainly want to give a big shout out to my father, Oscar Smith Jr., certainly my mother as well. We're certainly growing up. I just had great models, great role models, and my dad obviously received his bachelor's degree in physical education from Mississippi State University, and I learned the value of fitness at a young age, very active child. And it certainly remains true for me as an adult. So I just so grateful for those early lessons. And even now, my parents continue to help me, and there's nothing that happens as far as Planet Fitness is concerned in the Shreveport Bossier City market that I don't hear about. In fact, I was talking to my dad last week, and he said, that new drive on Uri, that new location on Uri Drive, their parking lot's always full when I pass by there. And also, ironically, I'm going to tell you this real quick, then move on, but he told me, he said he listened to WJR, which is actually a Detroit radio station. So he listens on, I think it's iHeartRadio in the mornings there in Louisiana. And he actually told me, last week there was a man from Planet Fitness there interviewed, and he owned 40 something locations. Do you know anything about that? And it was just so funny. And I told him, I said, Dad, knowing and hearing how many locations it was, I said, that had to be someone from PF Michigan Group. I said, when I read off the three co-owners' names, and I said, do these ring a bell? And so, but anyway, so there's nothing that happens as far as Planet Fitness, either, of course, in Detroit in that example, or back home in Louisiana, that I don't hear about. So it's just certainly some great things that my parents taught me early on, particularly as it relates to fitness. So starting out, May 17th, 1994, walked on into the Barksdale Air Force Base Fitness Center. At the time, it was an old hangar for B-52s. That's actually the base is certainly known for B-52s. And stepped on in there and just really moved on into and experienced a 4-year journey of fitness. And it truly, that is what I call just the starting point of my gym fitness. So it just was so great to experience those 4 years. And actually, I've done subsequent episodes for Fitness Friday from the newer location that was built, 10, 15 years ago. Certainly that the old hangar location has been torn down. It's actually flat land now, but just so many great memories early on at the Barksdale Air Force Base Fitness Center that I will always cherish. And moving on into when I most recently went home to Louisiana for the Christmas of 2018 and New Year's of 2019, and having the opportunity to step inside that newest location of Uri Drive that my father said their parking lot's always full. It just really did something for my soul when I saw that, because when I think about when I lived there and how limited the fitness options were and just how just what an impact this particular franchise group has had on that particular market. It just does something for my soul. When I walked in there the morning of December 18th, and literally, if you remember, I highlighted this early on a Fitness Friday at the beginning of the year, and I walked into that facility thinking like, oh my God, this is going to be, just a normal, an average location, and I'm just going to go on to the bigger location, and because this is a smaller, used to be a Rite Aid years ago when I lived there, and then I walked into that facility, folks, and I was just blown away. Saw matrix equipment. I've never seen that in a Planet Fitness location, but more importantly, when I saw the selectorized weight machines that were all matrix, but had timers and counters on them, for active and rest periods. So for those of you who don't know what that means, if you're sitting on a machine, a selectorized weight machine, and you want to do, 10 triceps presses, all right, you can literally look right there on the machine and it will tell you how many you've done, and it will count down the amount of time that you spent on that machine. All right, and so it was just phenomenal, and it was just wonderful to see that. But just had a wonderful experience back home during the holidays. I always experienced such great hospitality, not even just from one club, from all 4 clubs in that location, and it just truly means a lot when I go back home and I'm treated like one of their own, like members of their facility. So just had to highlight that, and just the richness of my experiences back home when I work out at the Planet Fitness locations there. Moving on next, when I lived in Minneapolis, and I was actually lived in Minnetonka, which is a suburb, for when I worked at General Mills. And so folks, literally, it was such a hard time. Living in Minneapolis, I did not like Minneapolis, a wonderful city, but it just was not good, was not a good fit for me. All right, and so was not happy, was not happy, but the Willitson Community Fitness Center was certainly a very bright light during my time spent in Minneapolis, as I would go there and work out in the mornings, and it was just fantastic. So I just had to highlight that. And when you think about fitness journey, and we think about life in general, there's highs and lows and trials and tribulations and happy times and not so happy times. But when I think about my own fitness journey, what a role fitness has played in all times of my life. And living in Minneapolis being one of the lower points of my life in terms of being unhappy, but fitness being right there to provide, of course, not only health benefits, but just a good experience while I was there. So I had to highlight that. Next, in 2007 and 2008, I actually had 2 separate appointments. I set up my own appointments with a local dietitian. Her name is Beverly Cameron. I'll always remember her. But anyway, reached out to that office and set up an appointment because I was at the point, I was working in medical sales, and I was eating a lot of fast food and eating on the go and whatever. My diet was not what it should have been. And so I remember when I walked in for my first appointment, and she's kind of looking at me like, you're not diabetic, you don't have weight issues. And then I explained to her that just for me, I wanted to make some positive dietary changes, obviously before it was too late. I didn't want to 20, 30 years down the road have all of these problems that are diet related. So anyway, she helped me to get things on track, to steer away slowly from the fast food, and just some of the great lessons that she taught me. Again, just taking things slowly, don't make all these changes at once, and that's where people get into trouble and fail. And I remember I was her only non-diabetic patient because my insurance wouldn't cover it. And so she gave me a discount because I paid cash. But that's an example, reaching out for help. Yes, I'm the fitness fanatic, all of this and that, but I have reached out for help along the way. And this aspect of my diet is certainly one that I turned around, but I had to reach out for help in order for that to happen. Next, I joined Bel Air Fitness, and I've actually done a few episodes over the years from Bel Air Fitness in Bossier City, Louisiana, back home. And so that was a new thing for me because I actually had 2 different gym memberships. So I was a member of Powerhouse Gym, and when I joined the summer of 2013, joined at Bel Air Fitness there, and just had a wonderful experience there during those few years. I would come back during the holidays. That was a unique gym membership where I would pay, I think, $25, and I would get just 30 visits loaded on the card. So it wasn't time-based in terms of expiring, it was when those visits expired. So whenever I went home, I was able to utilize those visits, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful folks. And so I will always treasure, Jeff Harper and his team for just always, that was a great fitness option for me to go home while in Louisiana, typically 1, 2, 3 weeks at a time, because for many years I didn't work out at all when I went back home. But Bel Air certainly changed that back when I joined in 2013. So that was wonderful. Next, now you've heard me talk about my absolute dislike for outdoor fitness activities. I do not like running long distances outside. I am a sprinter. And I can do a sprint certainly outside, but inside and of course outside, sprinting is no problem. But long distance running, and I have to highlight this as an example. I've got some show and tell activities here. And so I participated. So for my 21st gym anniversary, I was a member of Powerhouse at the time. And so I actually did a 5K that was based right there out of Stevenson High School in Livonia, Michigan. And so folks, I did not win. I came in second place, but it was an absolute disaster. I was not prepared. Of course, those of you who are distance runners, there's things you do, road races. I don't care if it's a 5K, 10K, a marathon. There's certain things you have to do to prepare. So I was not dressed appropriately. I was not hydrated. It was, of course, May, but it was the temperature was higher than usual. The humidity in the air, which I've learned the hard way, is a very important thing that needs to be taken into consideration. I didn't take advantage or take that, and none of those items are factors into consideration. It was an absolute disaster. I don't know how I came into second place, and it was just, there were the official group of runners, I should probably say, and the unofficial group of runners. So I was running for free. So I came in second place in the free group because I was not about to pay, I think it was $30 or $35 to run in this race. And then no, like it just was not. I was not that excited or passionate about being a paying, a paid runner versus one. I was in the free group, so I came in second place in the free group. I should probably clarify that, but just not a good situation, and in that certainly at that regard. But here is what you will see, and so that was May 17th. Now, when I did that, and so this here was, you could see what, the 25th of May. So I was really in 5K mode when I signed up for that first race. And then I signed up at the same time. I'd registered for this Memorial Day run, which happens every year in Novi. This is the 5K. And so I just have to be very honest with you and tell you, with this particular race, I showed up, I grabbed my t-shirt, I signed in, and I left. I didn't walk it, I didn't run it. And that's just, it was what it was. And so I just had to show, to highlight that as well, to show that, hey, there's certain things in fitness that either work for you or they don't work for you, folks. And certainly you got to be secure enough in who you are to say, you know what, that's me, that's not me. I'm a sprinter. Yeah, you'll see me running on the treadmill, but I think the max that I've ever run on the treadmill in a gym has been like 40 minutes because, I get bored and I cross train. So I'm used to doing different things and moving around. So just for me, running, perhaps even thinking a marathon, running 26 miles straight would just be an absolute nightmare for me. So I don't put myself in that situation. I think that's where a lot of people struggle in fitness, is they're doing a whole bunch of things because other people are doing them, or because this magazine says you should do it. No, folks, figure out what works for you and do that, and avoid those things that don't work for you. You will be successful. And I highlighted this a few weeks ago, March 30th of this year. I had the opportunity, Brooks Running, it sponsored an event, A Brush with Brooks. So it was a painting event, very novel concept within the Running Fit store in Northville, Michigan. And I mentioned that I ran into a couple of the folks that head up the Northville Running Club. And so one of them approached me, oh, we run the running club, are you interested? And these are people that run all these distance races and meet every week to run all these long distance activities. And I said, absolutely not. Thank you for the invitation. It was great to be thought of and to be asked, but no, I have no interest in doing that. So see the growth from 2015 to 2019. Just know this is not me. I have no interest in doing this. I'm not going to waste my time or anyone else's time. So that showed to me, when I think about my fitness journey, the growth of knowing what works for me and what doesn't work for me, and avoiding those things. As I just told you, avoid things that don't work for you. So this happened actually in 2011. Got a wild hair. When I was a little girl, I used to love to ride my bike. Particularly in Biloxi, Mississippi. That was truly like a bike riding highlight of my childhood. So in 2011, I just decided, you know what, I used to love riding a bike. We have such a short summer here in Michigan. I'm going to buy a bike. Went to Walmart, the New Hudson store, and bought a purple bike. And folks, rode that bike 2 times in 4 years. And actually, it was right here within my subdivision. Rode up to the front of the subdivision, the entrance, and came back. And I did that twice over a several month time period. And so literally in 2015, contacted the Vietnam Vets of America, and they came. I donated the bike to that organization, and have zero interest in getting another bike and zero interest in riding bikes outdoors. So yet another example of recognizing, yeah, this was great when I was a child, but I have zero interest in doing this as an adult. So as an example, I want to move in now to Planet Fitness. When I was in Chicago last year, and I highlighted this, just Erica at the front desk of the Evanston, Illinois, which is actually where Northwestern University is located. She was working the front desk that morning. And folks, this was actually, I always, except for this case, have to visit a Planet Fitness location at least twice, in order for me to assess and to write a member survey or complete a member survey online. This is the one example where I did not do that because just her customer service was outstanding. But anyway, she was working that morning by herself. And I had walked, stayed at an Airbnb literally 2.5 miles east of this Planet Fitness. So I just had to walk 2.1 miles. Remember, I do not like outdoors fitness. I had to walk 2.1 miles to that Planet Fitness location. And anyway, long story short, I came in, I signed in. Her customer service and hospitality was outstanding. But what really did it was, as I was about to sign in for the hydro massage beds. That's when I used to use them. But anyway, I was signing in, and do you know what when I walk up there, you know what she said to me? You know what, I researched you some options for public transportation so you can get back to campus. And she had looked up a bus schedule. She pulled me over there to that big computer screen, and she showed me Google Maps of this is where you walk to, and this is where you catch the bus number 250, and this will take you to right there to where you need to go. And folks, that saved me so much time. And I had never, even though I lived in Chicago, I had a car when I lived there when I was a student. So did not drive, or I took the L. I mean, I always drove, pardon me, or I took the L, the train, everywhere I needed to go. So I'd never taken the bus before. So that was the first time I took the bus. It was a great experience. Certainly saved me a lot of time. But just her willingness to do that without being asked. That was just customer service at its absolute finest. And I did a survey for her and recognized her for that. Next, want to move on to Planet Fitness Commerce. And when I transferred my membership there in December of 2017, and just had a wonderful experience, having a wonderful experience at that particular location. And I think back to the early days in particular, and the first time I remember I was on a triceps press selectorized weight machine, and I saw Cody walk in with his lunch in his hand, and he was smiling. Cody is the general manager, does an excellent job. He was smiling, had a smile on his face. He smiles a lot. Actually reminds me of Matthew Stafford. If anybody knows who the quarterback is of the Detroit Lions, he looks like he could be this guy's brother. But anyway, does an excellent job. And so that was certainly one of my earlier experiences. And I think about Moody and how Moody is of course moved back to Minnesota with his family. But how Moody was there when I had stopped in to use the bathroom that one day on my way back home. And he was just always wonderful, and certainly miss Moody. Victor. Highlighted Victor before. I've actually done a few times on these Fitness Friday episodes, but Victor worked at the front desk. And I just so remember when I transferred my membership, and just how professionally and how respectfully and with such humility, how he handled that transfer. And I just think that's a best practice in general. And why I want to really kind of spend a few more moments on Victor is just what a powerful lesson for me to learn. And he didn't stand there and say, okay, now this is a lesson you need to learn, Rachelle. I mean, but just the way he handled that. And because remember, when someone is transferring, I don't care what chain it is, fitness facilities, when someone is changing from one to the other, it's making a statement, to be quite honest with you, unless the person's moving that this one is closer to work. But anything other than that, if it's not a proximity issue, where me is I'm driving, almost 10 miles each way when I was just driving 3 to the Novi Club. And so in that situation, I think a lot of humility, and that's what he demonstrated, and I think that's what I needed to learn, because I'm going to different locations, and I'm meeting people that go to different locations, and people are sometimes asking me why I'm going, to why I transferred my membership. And ironically, I ran into a guy named Ron at the Commerce, Michigan location of Target, and he saw me in the store. He works there in the electronics department. He saw me and he saw my hat, my LSU hat, and he said, "Did you used to go to the Novi Planet Fitness?" And I said, "Oh, I did. Yep, I sure did." And he said, "Yeah, I remember seeing you. I haven't seen you in a while." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm at the Commerce Club now." And then he said, "Oh, really? You live in that?" I said, "No, well, actually, I live in Novi." And then he, as people always do, give me this strange look, like you're driving, whatever. And I said, "Well, have you ever been inside that Commerce Club?" And then that's just how I just left it there. And he said, "Oh, no." And then, so that was a very polite way very respectful way of handling it. It's just, they do a great job there. But that was just such a great lesson. And just always recognizing, every club is wonderful. Every club is inside of Planet Fitness, the franchise, or outside of Planet Fitness. Each facility is unique, is special, and so should be treated as such. It's not a matter of, oh, this club is better than this club, and this club sucks, and this club this club that. Every club is unique. Every club has a different ownership or leadership. And so we just have to respect that. But that was just such a wonderful lesson. I will never forget that. And I'm so grateful for that lesson that Victor certainly indirectly taught me early on. Next, membership, Powerhouse Gym. Now, I was a member of Powerhouse Gym from 2012 to 2017. So it was 5 years. Certainly a lot of good lessons there. But certainly, there's many different lessons, but in the interest of time, when I think about, well, of course, number one, Mr. William Davish, who's the co-founder, his brother passed away in 2005, the co-founder of Powerhouse Gyms International, owns that location. He actually bought it from Fusion Fitness years ago. And so when I think about, I had his support, and he was a Fitness Friday fan, and actually every day, he was a Facebook fan every day of the week, but he was certainly a Fitness Friday fan. So just having his support, but also I think that experience, it just really tested my confidence, the ability to get on there and tell the truth. Because when I think about Fitness Friday, when I think about my Posi-TIPS, when I think about what I do in general, it's very important for me to number one, help people, but number two, tell the truth. Be honest about what I experienced, about what happens, what doesn't happen, whatever. But certainly having a franchise founder watch you all the time, and you're talking about that gym, but that's certainly one thing, and there's no doubt in my mind he would say, like, man, he probably didn't appreciate it as much during the time as he does now, but man, you know, Rachelle was my truth teller. Rachelle told the truth. I could get some honest feedback from her, you know, on my gym, or what was right, what wasn't right, whatever, this and that, what problem areas there were. And certainly it's important for you as leaders to understand that. Very rarely, if you're talking about people that work for you, people that report to you, people that are counting on a paycheck, it's very rare that those folks are going to tell you the truth. And certainly I have no motive of, you know what I'm saying, what I do is trying to help. I'm helping people, and I'm honest. I'm not accepting payments from people and facilities and chains and all of that. So that's why I love what I do, the ability to be honest and to tell the truth as things stand and as they are. So that was a great test for me in terms of confidence and just telling the truth. It doesn't matter who's watching. You know, it's got to be said. And certainly that one, but another great lesson is just assertiveness and just really speaking up and just, you know, when things happen, when people interrupt you, and all of those things happen. That I know I highlighted a number of examples on a couple of episodes I did a couple years ago on approaching people at the gym, and highlighted some good examples of people that have approached me, as well as some bad examples. But just really speaking up. You know, you can't complain about things in life when you haven't said anything, when you haven't spoken up, when you haven't addressed the matter. So those were two great lessons I certainly learned along the way at Powerhouse. Will always treasure that membership and its role in my fitness journey. And certainly, you know, wish them well, but I've obviously moved on in different directions. I've outgrown that facility in that chain, but certainly wish them absolutely nothing but the best moving forward. But next, something I started doing in 2017. Now, traveling for me was an area, as it is for a lot of people, is an area of vulnerability. All right, when it not so much as fitness in terms of working out. Yes, I would do that. Yes, but the actual, what am I going to eat? All right, and for many years, my default was, I'll grab some fast food in the airport or something like that. But what I started doing in 2017 was actually packing a lunch or eating something before I leave, or taking something with me when I'm traveling by train or plane. So that is something, a big change, very big change that I instituted in 2017, and it's been worked wonderfully for me. So I can, again, not default to junk food. I can actually take something healthy and take something healthy and reasonable, or eat something before I go. And so that was just monumental in terms of not eating fast food when I travel. In 1996, folks, I shared this a few years ago on a Fitness Friday, but I always have new people that join. And so, folks, I have to highlight this example. My mother was diagnosed, and of course I lived in Louisiana at the time still, but in 1996 she was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I mean, still has congestive heart failure, but essentially, for those of you who aren't familiar with the condition, it's a very serious situation where most people actually end up dying of congestive heart failure. And so she was told by her cardiologist, with all due respect, you know, to him, you know, essentially your situation, you're going to be limited in terms of your activity. So just essentially sit down, don't overexert yourself, and whatever. The long-term prognosis for CHF patients is not good. But anyway, I had told her, and at this point I was in year 2 of my own fitness journey, and I said, you know what, Mom, I bet you if you started walking, it would help you. And again, I'm not a physician, I'm not a medical or health professional, so you do what your doctor says. But this was my mother, and that's what I told her. And she started doing that. She started working, she started walking around the track at work, and she did that for many years until she retired, folks. But anyway, her ejection fraction went from being in the teens to in the 70% in terms of percentages. And so she is doing incredibly well. Her heart is doing incredibly well. And all of that because, and then when she started, you know, a few years after she was diagnosed, and she would go and see her cardiologist once or twice a year, and he would say, well, what happened? What are you doing? And she would say, well, you know, my daughter told me to start walking, and I've started doing that, and I feel great. So folks, 1996, she's still going strong in 2019. But that is certainly one of the biggest highlights of my fitness journey. Yeah, she's my mother, but she listened to me, and I, of course, didn't have any medical expertise, but I just intuitively feel that exercise can help so many conditions, you know, and it's certainly, she's a prime example of that. So just had to share that. All right, and so 2014, went and visited my brother before he had orders to Germany for 3 years, but I actually went to Fort Bragg to see him. And he and I got to talking about something, this and that. And he asked me, he said, do like fitness for other people? Do you share this with other people? And I said, you know what? No, I don't. And so he actually inspired me, actually encouraged me and challenged me to start sharing my passion for fitness with the world. And so when I think about why you are watching a Fitness Friday right now, this would not have occurred without my brother Oscar. And so I certainly cherish that as well. And so glad for that conversation that now I was able to, 5 years ago, I started Fitness Fridays, and it's certainly grown and evolved over that time frame. And so, but it started with my brother, and just kind of highlight that. 2016, my dad actually encouraged me. Somehow we were on the phone or something talking about Fitness Friday. And then we got to talking about leadership, within the fitness industry and all of this and that. And my dad's background, he's actually run gyms, and he's the retired superintendent of recreation for the city of Shreveport, his last position before retirement. And so that was an example. I mean, my dad, we were, just talking about leadership, and that's when I started to integrate leadership topics into my Fitness Fridays. And I absolutely love it. Leadership and leadership development is something I'm passionate about, and certainly, what I do. But for those of you in leadership roles, you notice these episodes, and this is certainly something that has changed probably over the last couple of years. A lot more leadership in terms of what I do and my emphasis. And so you have my dad to thank for that. I love doing all of my episodes, but certainly the leadership and the leadership development oriented episodes, love them. All right, 2018, really quickly, had an opportunity to visit the North Pulaski Planet Fitness location in Chicago. And so that as I mentioned here at the beginning of the episode, when I kicked off the episodes, it's just a huge club, but the layout was just incredible. And the safety zones were just amazing, particularly around the treadmills. That's always something that I'm looking at, the safety zones around the treadmills. Just a wonderful, the closest competitive gym as far as Planet Fitness is concerned that could actually go head to head with Lifetime Fitness. Obviously you don't have the pool, you don't have all the bougie type stuff, but layout wise, they did a great job on that. Just LA Fitness, of course, which is a very, very big player in the city of Chicago, the Chicagoland area, including the suburbs, but that Planet Fitness can certainly go head to head with either of those two. And I should also state that this location actually had a hair salon for Black Card members where they were giving free haircuts. And so that just absolutely amazed me. But it was a powerful lesson that I learned in that, is that, yes, Planet Fitness has a lot of policies and procedures, can be perceived to be restrictive and all of that. But also that location taught me there's a lot of freedom within that franchise, a lot more than I thought there was. From a franchisee perspective, is that, you have the ability to be as competitive as you want to be within that franchise. When I saw that hair salon, I said, you know what, this is something else. When I saw the safety zones around the treadmills, and that one was really unique, it really could compete with corporate gyms from the standpoint of, when you think about safety zones, for those of you who don't know, that's the amount of space between a machine, and that's exactly what it is, safety zone. Because there's liabilities around that, with machines being close together and all that. It's a lot of research, but I won't go into all of that. But within this particular, the North Pulaski Planet Fitness, literally there's me, I could stand two, and I was mentally counting when I was on that treadmill. Literally, I could stand side by side, and there was that much space within the machines, within the treadmills, and that was just remarkable, absolutely remarkable. But that was an example. All right, you're free to be as competitive as you want to be, and I learned that at that particular location. All right, next, and these are, of course, as you see, in no particular date order. All right, joining Planet Fitness in Novi. Great experience. I remember that, June 28, 2017, and I actually went in the next day, and Mike, I used to call him Magic Mike, was working the front desk. And so just had some really good experiences. It was very good preparation for my subsequent adventures at Planet Fitness, and I always salute Nate, he's left. I don't know when he left, but I know, the first time I went in after a long time. During the winter, he was gone, Nate Lucier, but just a wonderful general manager. And I think about him, and I think about Heather, who was an assistant manager at the time, and Mike, and those three. And just one of the great lessons that I learned early on that actually kept me at the Planet Fitness was just their ability to demonstrate compassionate confrontation. All right, what we see and some of the challenges from Planet Fitness from a negative publicity standpoint is around this whole concept of not having the ability to confront, and it's a struggle. People don't like confrontation, confronting other people, and then people generally don't take confrontation well. So it's just a tough situation regardless of how you have it. When I think about these three and how I saw with my own eyes them handle situations where they had to enforce rules, policies, and procedures, but just did it with such great compassion. And you did not see people going and writing negative reviews about, you know, those type of scenarios within that gym with those three. And it was just wonderful. There was no lunk alarm getting sounded. They went and handled stuff right there on the spot. And I'll just highlight Nate as a quick example. I remember October 2017, I was stretching, facing the cardio machines, and the cable machines were off in the corner. And there was a young guy, and you heard him going, he was on a cable row machine, and he was going, ah! And I thought to myself, because I'm facing stretching, like, what in the world is this? You know, and I look, and of course, as I always do, I looked over, just how much weight is he claiming, thinking that he's pulling over there? And it was 40 pounds. And I said, you know what? But again, that's going back to the whole episode I talked about last time, insecurity. When you think about people overcompensating, but anyway, Nate, the front desk was this way. This guy was over in the corner. And Nate went over there and just, you know, talked to the young man, and it got quiet in there, and he just handled that. But he didn't ring the lunk alarm, all right? Because why? Everybody else in there is going to be penalized by hearing that loud thing, and so he went and handled that. And he, Heather, and Mike did a great job with doing that. And I just think overall, if there were more of that within the franchise, if there had been more of that along the way, that would be, I mean, you would just have a lot less negative publicity, a lot less disgruntled people that are vulnerable to other gyms coming and taking them away from Planet, recruiting them away from Planet Fitness. So wonderful, wonderful lessons. I will always treasure them, that entire experience, the entire original crew. Just some great experiences, and I always respect the Novi Club and all that I experienced there, and just the wonderful level of respect and just the great experiences early on. So don't want to poo-poo that experience early on. And so September 2015, yes, I was contacted by Nathan Mueller, the city of Novi, he's in the communications department. But anyway, and he put me in touch. The city was actually doing a promotional video for the ITC Trail Pathway in Novi. And so when I received that call, he told me, you know, I received your name from someone. They said I'd reach out to you. We're actually looking for certain folks to film, to utilize in this, to film for this promotional video. And so some of you have seen me. I think I've worn this in a few episodes over the Fitness Friday years and non-Fitness Friday years. I am Novi. And there's actually a picture of me that morning. I actually jogged along the ITC trail, and they filmed me. And I'm holding this shirt just like this. Right after that filming, I was holding, and I took a picture of that. But so this was a T-shirt I received as a result of participating in that. But that experience and that happening, that let me know that let me know right then. Being a fitness influencer, I didn't realize it up to that point, and so, but in October 2015, when I got that call about, yeah, we need you to be in this and whatever, somebody told me you'd be a great person as far as fitness is concerned. I found out then, like, okay, Rachelle, I'm a fitness influencer. All right, next, moving along here, the University of Michigan. I'm actually, as I highlighted a few episodes ago, I'm now in the MyPAC study, which is the Michigan Predictive Activities and Clinical Trajectories study. And so officially enrolled on April 30th. I will be talking about this in a whole separate episode. Do not want to get bogged down in an episode about a clinical trial on this particular episode, because I have other things to cover, but we're so excited. I'm so excited to be in this trial because I'm healthy, and unfortunately they're always looking for people with a lot of health problems or health challenges or chronic conditions to be in studies, but this is actually one where I'm happily participating as a healthy person, and I will share more about that on a future episode. I'm going to do a whole separate episode on that. All right, next, going undercover, yes. So in December 2015 to March of 2016, I actually went undercover, folks. It was great. I went undercover as a gym newbie into various types of fitness facilities here in Metro Detroit. It was wonderful because I wanted to learn what it was like to be somebody new to fitness and what type of sales tactics are used and just all of that. But it was a wonderful experience, and I know I've highlighted that a couple of years ago and 2 or 3 years ago in those episodes, but it was just a wonderful experience, and I learned so much, folks. I would dress up in layers of clothing and all of that, and then, you know, tell trainers I want to lose all this weight, and just how would they handle that. And I always kind of go back to Jennifer Lawrence before I move on to this next one. Jennifer Lawrence, who's the owner, trainer, and manager of the Walled Lake, Michigan Anytime Fitness. She was the only one in 4 months who challenged me and said, no, you don't need to lose any weight. And I talked to her afterwards when I kind of told her this is what happened, and I've interviewed her a couple times on Fitness Fridays. She's just a wonderful representation of the fitness industry. She actually said, you know, I could see it in your face. Your body composition is often and more often reflected in your face. Now, she has a degree from Central Michigan University in health, wellness, and promotion, but has a lifelong passion for fitness. But she gauged that. But also, there was not that element of just trying to sell me something or sign me up for membership or sign me up for personal training. And so I always respect her for that integrity and her ability to do that. But I learned a lot from that experience. All right, next, folks, in January of 2016, actually had a physician. It was a new physician to me at the time, Dr. Adrienne Ashmatat. And she has since relocated in 2017, the summer of 2017. She and her husband, who is also a physician, they relocated to the western side of Michigan, so she's no longer my physician, but she was a fitness fanatic as well. She and her husband were CrossFitters, and they were also members at the time of the Plymouth, Michigan location of LA Fitness. So that was the first time in my fitness journey where my whole doctor's appointment would be, okay, Rachelle, everything is great, looks great, blood works fine, you know, keep up the good work. And then we would talk about fitness the whole time, the rest of my appointment. The other 15 or 20 minutes, we were just talking about pure fitness. So she and her husband was very, very big into fitness. So that was a very unique experience. And this is actually a message that I received in the patient portal that I printed out from her. And so this message was dated February 12, 2017. So this was after my final appointment with her before she and her husband moved. And it says, from Adrienne Ashmatat to Rachelle Smith. Hi, Rachelle, just letting you know that all of your lab results look fantastic as they always do. Keep up the healthy lifestyle. Best, Dr. Ashmatat. And I saved this, and I know I've highlighted this on a previous Fitness Friday episode after this appointment, but just a great example. She valued fitness, her husband valued fitness, their kids are going to be valuing fitness, but it was just a wonderful experience. And then, of course, I lost her as a physician. But just having someone that understands and has a passion for fitness as your physician, I mean, that is a great thing to have. That is just a great thing to have. Not only because you just sit around and talk about fitness, but you're healthy, all right? And so I just saved this, is that meant a lot to me. You know, just having this and just say, you know what, having a healthy lifestyle, yeah, it does pay off. Yeah, you got to keep up the work, because it's not easy. It's easy to just slip into, you know, habit, sedentary lifestyle and all of that, but you keep it up and it pays dividends literally. And so I lost her, but in September of 2017, that's when Dr. Barbara Levine Blaze of West Bloomfield, Michigan, she's actually close to Commerce Township, so I go to her on the way home from my gym, my workouts. An outstanding physician. She's an osteopath, has been practicing more than 30 years, but she's an old school physician and works 12-hour days, but just loves her job. This is her purpose, this is her passion, and an absolute wonderful, wonderful physician. And if I'm not a member, if I didn't have that membership at Planet Fitness in Commerce Township, there's no way I would have, you know, I typically, you know, before becoming a member of Planet Fitness, I would occasionally go to the Walmart in Commerce Township. But since I have been a member of that gym, you know, I have Dr. Patel as my allergist that is right there, as well as my chiropractor who I'm going to be highlighting. My chiropractor who helped me out early on this year, relieved my back pain, lower back pain. They're also in Commerce Township. And so just wonderful medical professionals that I have now because of my membership at Planet Fitness, because otherwise I would not have just randomly chosen a doctor in those areas. So just wonderful, wonderful experiences with physicians. And as you're on your fitness journeys, folks, it's important that you have medical professionals that value fitness, that are into fitness themselves, that are walking the talk, that are telling people to have a healthy lifestyle and to do this and to do that. And many of them just need to be walking their talk. And next, Dr. X, and I'm actually not going to mention my chiropractor's name because there's, with all due respect, there's some integrity issues there from the standpoint of, okay, I was given a 4-week treatment plan and I was helped. No back pain. Back pain is gone. I do not use the hydro massage at any Planet Fitness anymore. And so back pain, 4, 5, 6 years of dealing with that lower back pain, gone. But I was given that 4-week treatment plan. I was healed and I'm doing great after that 4 weeks. But at my final appointment, that's when I'm told, well, you know, perhaps we should, I know you're doing better, but maybe we should do a maintenance plan. And so I don't need a maintenance plan. I'm not wasting my insurance's money. I have integrity. I'm not doing that. And I'm not going to let anybody else, a physician or anybody else, play me like that or play my insurance company. So I'm better, I'm doing better, and so I can't recommend this particular person, but I do honor this chiropractor who helped me in 4 weeks, and it was great, and I'm feeling great, and I definitely is worthy of a mention, but definitely not writing online reviews recommending this person, and not going to publicly say who they are, because I don't want to recommend somebody that I know has some integrity challenges and is going to try to keep people coming for longer than they should be going. So want to highlight that, look, folks. And finally, went to Chicago, as I mentioned. And so Chicago, when I was a student there at Northwestern, it was a big challenge. When I was in grad school there, very big challenge, because I lived in the graduate dorms on campus, and then you're not, before 4 p.m., it used to be, I'm not sure what it is now, you were not allowed to park on campus because you were considered a campus resident, not a commuter student, and there's limited parking, and so whatever. So you had to walk to class, had to walk around campus all the time. And so, and I'm not a big fan of that, particularly in the Chicago winters. That was a very, very challenging experience, and all of that, maintaining my fitness during those Chicago winters, and just being a very busy graduate student with time challenges and all of that, but made it work. But then even after graduation in subsequent years, for many years I didn't work out, just walking around, taking public transportation, getting off the train, getting on the train, walking up the train, all of that. That was my fitness for me for many years. All right, and so then I joined Planet Fitness, and so I had an opportunity to go to a couple of those locations there, actually during two different visits, the Evanston location as well as the North Pulaski Road locations. Had some good experiences there, but also received, in October of 2018, received this privilege pass. Don't know how I got it, from the Northwestern Alumni Association, which allows me access to our fitness facilities on campus, folks. And I went back to the Blomquist Fitness Center that I used as a graduate student because it was the closest to the graduate dorms. And folks, I went back there last week for a couple of days when I was in town, and folks, it was so cool. So it was May 2nd and 3rd, went back into the place where I first stepped on to a Pre-Core elliptical cross trainer. Absolutely love that. That's my favorite machine in my whole 25-year fitness journey, is the Pre-Core elliptical. And so for me to go back into that facility where the Northwestern Alumni Association answered that problem and challenge I had with going back to Chicago and working out, maintaining my fitness, and just having it right there on campus, since I'm on campus for meetings and things like that, reunions, all of that. They solved a big problem for me that existed since I graduated. I can just work out right there, right where I used to work out at Blomquist, but also on a Pre-Core cross trainer. It was so happy. And so it was a wonderful experience. Just a great couple of days. Great to be back on that machine, folks. And so those are some highlights of my 25-year fitness journey, and it's going to be another 25 years of fun things, exciting points, highs, lows, and I want to make sure to just inspire you and just to also challenge you. You're going to experience some highs, you're going to experience some lows, but there's going to be some things that you're just going to have to persevere through. Find out what works for you. Find out what doesn't work for you. I didn't highlight on this list my visit during June of 2018 to the Planet Fitness location in Northville. So the first Planet Fitness in the whole state, a number of years ago in Northville. I did not highlight that because I'm keeping this episode positive, but that was a very low point for me. People there, Doug and his team do a great job. Doug at the front desk, just fantastic employee. All right, so it wasn't the people, it's the place, it's the layout. And there's been, there's a review on Google where somebody's called the layout horrific, and I agree with that. But that's a situation where I'm just never stepping foot in there again. Like, it just doesn't agree with me. It's not worthy to go into a whole detailed explanation. I'm just not doing it again, but that's an example. But even after that bad experience with that layout and just that whole challenge, and taking a shower in there, my butt's touching the wall of the shower, I didn't give up on Planet Fitness. I didn't give up on the franchise. I didn't give up on my fitness. I didn't give up on gyms. So folks, you are going to have to persevere during your own fitness journey. So I challenge you, don't give up. If you're struggling with a personal trainer and if you've been the same weight and you've got no gains in the last 5 years or 10 years, you need to make a change. If you're at a facility where it's just, they don't respect you, they're always trying to do these billing snafus with you, you're experiencing these negative situations, or whatever, it's too hot in there, it's too cold in there, whatever, the water isn't hot enough in the shower, whatever, make a change. Make a change. You don't have to stay stuck in mediocrity in any aspect of your life, but certainly in fitness, folks. We've got an epidemic of obesity in this country, and it's got to change. It's gotta change. We have a lot of folks with gym memberships who aren't using them. You got a lot of folks with just all types of fitness facility memberships, group fitness classes, all of that. Wasting money, throwing money down the drain. Why? Because they're not experiencing results. They don't like whoever's leading the class or their personal trainer. They don't like the facility, and they're settling, and then they just refuse. They just give up, folks. Don't give up. Yes, I've had a lot of good times, but I've also had some challenges along my fitness journey, but I didn't let them deter me. I did not let anything or anyone deter me. And it'll be 25 years on May 17th. So folks, this is all for this episode. I look forward next week to actually highlighting my fitness journey again. I'm just celebrating on my absolute 25-year fitness journey, folks. I can't believe it's been 25 years, but it can be you too. And if it's if you're 20 years, 25 years, 30 years on your journey, keep on keeping on, keep it up, keep up the great work. But for those of you who are just starting, it is worth it. The health benefits, your quality of life will improve, your emotions will improve, your mental health will improve, your health will improve. There's so many different benefits, folks. So if you're sitting on the couch now, if you're sitting in a chair, if you're sitting back, you're sedentary, folks, don't let health challenges, because they're going to be coming. You're sedentary and all of that, they're coming. All right, so yes, there are genetic issues that can cause you and predispose you to have certain problems and challenges, folks. But much of what people are experiencing is because of sedentary lifestyle and poor diet. So take control of your life from a fitness, health, and wellness perspective. It is possible. You can do it, and I challenge you and I encourage you, folks. I thank you so much for your time, folks, and I can't wait until next week. 25 years is going to be a celebration for me. Can't wait. But until then, folks, remember, I am positively passionate about your fitness,